So the European season is just around the corner and I've been busy over these last couple of weeks since making my strategy video a couple of weeks ago now, picking up some extra pieces for my under 23 gallery, both in rare and super rare. So today we're going to be diving into what I've been up to from a buying perspective, selling perspective, and yeah, how everything's sort of shaken out, between both scarcities. So leave a like if you do enjoy the video, lads. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's dive into it. So look, I'm unbelievably excited to get back into under 23s. Just to kick things off on a really positive note, in that, the fact that we're now getting 3 lineups per scarcity has meant that, the fun has just been tripled, hasn't it? I've loved playing under 23s ever since, Sorare has sort of began for me. And it's the competition that I've had the most success in, probably because I enjoyed it the most, and probably because you didn't need those massive stacks back in the day, the Bayerns, the Ajaxes back in the day in Challenger to compete. You could do it on a budget, and that is the beauty of under 23. For me, is that you don't need the best, you don't need the most expensive cards to really win. You can do it with cheaper contender under 23, cheaper challenger under 23 cards. It's the only global comp left in Sorare right now. There's no All-Star going into August, and under 23s is going to be unique in that sense. It's going to be the only competition where you can play challenger and contender players, and you can actually, if you're lucky enough, win champion in-season cards, which is going to be huge, I think. Especially the top-end ones, especially the Judes and the Vinnies and, Yamals. The list goes on. I have been really busy and really tried to bolster my squad and my chances of picking up those cards through winning and throughout the season. And I've definitely made a couple of additions in certain spots I really needed to strengthen. Goalkeeper being the main focus for me at under 23. If I'm going to play 3 lineups, I'm going to need 3 decent goalies. I'm going to need more than 3 goalies really to factor in injuries, suspensions, and if players get dropped, touch on wood they don't, but and out of form players, there's loads of things to take into consideration. I'm not saying if you've only got 3 that you won't be okay. You probably will be fine. But I am one of those players that, prefers to have the depth than not. So we'll go through each position. We're then going to build sort of like our best 3 or my best 3 teams on paper. And then we'll do the same in Super Rare. And we'll see how it all goes. So goalkeepers. Like I mentioned, it was the weakest part of my gallery as far as under 23 rare goes. Just with, Bazunu's long-term injury, Brady doesn't score very well, MLS goalie. Will Dennis was on loan to Kilmarnock last season. We still don't know where he's going to end up. Campbell got relegated with Pendixport. Still don't know where he ends up. And so that left me with a decision to make. If I want to play 3 lineups, I need 3, at least 3 starting goalkeepers. Now, I've had Bart for a while. Of course, he could double up as a champion keeper, double up as a Premier League keeper. So I thought, go out and find some contender and challenger goalies that can really fill that void. And I went in to get a Joseph Bursic, who was actually the cheapest out of the 3 by a mile, to be fair. Bursic was like 60 odd quid. He's gone on loan to Hibernian for the season from Club Brugge. So he's going to be playing in the Scottish League, for contenders. Kavlina has gone on loan to Ozchek from Dynamo Zagreb for a season. Really highly rated. I think I paid like 150 for him. And then the main man, Anatoly Trubin. We finally got what I think is the best goalie or the best under 23 goalie for that matter on the game. Obviously plays with Benfica. I managed to get a deal done with Nanzo actually. If you don't know, one of the local whales on this game. I ended up winning a unique card if you didn't see, and I managed to trade him away and a bit of cash for. Well, I got a bit of cash and Trubin for that card, and he's really elevated my chances, I think, next season now. Having a really solid goalkeeper like him just really, really bolsters things for me, and I'm just so excited to have just multiple options in goal each week. Like, even if Campbell and Will Dennis don't find a spot, obviously Brady's out for a little bit, but I've still got, Bazunu's out for a little bit, but I've still got Brady, I've got Bursic, Trubin, Kavlina and Bart. And if Alvarez finds a spot as well, maybe on loan from Villarreal somewhere, that could also be quite beneficial. So I think I've definitely strengthened my goalkeepers, no doubt about that. Defenders is a weird one for me. I did a show with Laird a few days ago on the best under 23s for the upcoming season, and it's so hard to predict who's going to be the best defenders. I've got a couple decent ones to choose from. Sikwe's gone back to Freiburg. We've got Klein Hansel, who I think will have a decent season. I've got a couple of Danilo Vega. So the ones highlighted in green are basically the new cards that I've brought in. I've got Tolkien. He's at the Olympics right now. Lamptey might be okay. Galesic, if he doesn't move, or even if he does move, but I hope he doesn't because he has a decent spot at Riker. Bella if he can stay fit, good player. Marmol the same. Nico Williams, obviously playing in the Prem, it's tough to score well as, a right back for Forest, but, there's a place for him. I brought in Lewis Miller because he's going to be my defensive stack with Joseph Bursic at Hibs. There's that second Danilo Vega. I bought an Opgard. He was stupidly cheap. I don't think he's going to start, to be honest, but he's just a bit of depth just in case he does get a few starts for PSV. I brought in 2 Smolics. I've got a Jursic who's going to be my defensive stack for Cavallina, or with Cavallina, sorry, because they both play for Ozchek. So I think I've got a decent amount of depth in defense. I'm not in love with any one option, but I think each week I should have a decent enough matchup with 1 to 3 of those guys to where they can fill in, obviously, in each defender spot. So I'm pretty content with the defenders. In midfield, we've got, Zaya Emery. Naipan's been doing really well recently. Gio Reyna's obviously very hot and cold. Lodis, we've brought him in from Las Palmas, who I don't think he's necessarily going to be a locked-in starter, but he's just a bit of depth. I'm not planning on being him being in my best 3 teams. If I can help it. Tony Fruk, I'm really hoping has a good season. Same for Jankovic. Same for Clarkson. Jana's really solid in the second league in France. Pablo Torre, don't know what's going to go on with him yet. Bucio's now playing in Serie A with Venezia. Tom Bershoff, I'm really hoping Bershoff has a breakout season at Hoffenheim because he's a very good player on his day. Enzo Fernandez, of course. We've got Dylan Levitt. He's a new addition to the gallery. Another Hibernian player. I don't think he's going to be or have a massive role to play at Hibs, but he's Welsh and I just kind of had to buy him. Barriel's been doing really well in the Brazilian league. Oscar Gluch is obviously a really good player for Salzburg, who I expect to have a really good season. And then, forever injured Pedri. So again, I think I have enough options to cover, 5 or 6. Like if I play double midfielder in every lineup, that would mean I need 6 midfielders every game week. I think there's just about 6 there, if I'm being honest. If I'm being really picky, it'd be nice to maybe add 1 or 2 more in, but I don't necessarily have to play double mid all the time. That's obviously just, dependent on the game week. And then forwards, I had a situation where I had far too many champion under 23 forwards, which isn't a bad thing. But if I want to play contender and challenger forwards here, rather than champ forwards, and play my champ under 23 forwards elsewhere in La Liga, Premier League, or even just champion, then I had to bring in a couple of contender and challenger options. So I brought in Simsia, who I hope has a good season for Midtjylland. Obviously, we've seen Alanga. Ferreira's always injured, unfortunately. Savio's going to City, so there's a few unknowns there. Brennan Johnson, I expect to have a good season. I've seen Sulemana linked everywhere. In Ciso, I hope has a great season at Brighton. I've got Grant Leon Ranos, who I'm hoping gets a loan deal away from Gladbach. We've got Tell. I did bring in the holy grail of rookie cards, and it is the Mateus Cherki 1920 card, which I'm absolutely in love with, if I can say that about a digital asset. But yeah, absolutely love him. I really hope he goes to Dortmund and lights it up. Then a couple of contender options here in Dion Bello, who's gone on loan to Rapid, and then Rapid Vienna, that is, in the Austrian league. I expect him to score a fair few amount of goals there. And then Ivankovic, who should be, I'm hoping, is the number 9 at Riker. And then we've got Vinny and Rodrigo, who, fall into that category of, I'll probably play them in champ more often than not. So yeah, that's the under 23 rig at rare level. Now I'll, sort of go through, my best team on paper. Now this is always going to depend on fixtures, of course, but, we have to throw Trubin into team A on paper. I think Cavallina probably is going to find a spot in Team 2 a lot of the time, again, depending on fixtures. And we'll probably call it Bursic for now over Bart, just because I do think I'll play Bart in the Premier League comp more often than not. Defender-wise, let's go. I think Klein Hansel will be really handy this season most of the time. Mika Marmol the same. And then we'll go Jursic with Cavallina just for that little defensive stack. Of course, like with Trubin, it would be nice to maybe have an Antonio Silva potentially later on down the line for a little defensive stack with him. I guess to keep my OCD at bay, we'll go Lewis Miller, who should be playing centre back for Hibernian this season. So we've got 2 defensive stacks there between Ozchek's left back and goalkeeper, Hibernian's goalkeeper and centre back. Obviously, I am missing that Antonio Silva for that that trifecta effect. In midfield, who are my best mids on paper? It's got to be Fruk, Jankovic. I would say Gluch definitely gets a nod in there somewhere. I think Clarkson's in with a shout. Let's just go one of each in the mid spot for now, and then we might add, a couple more mids in for the extras. This is, like I said, this is always going to depend on fixtures that week and how it all sort of pans out. Let's go. I mean, I said I want to play Vinny and Rodrigo, in champ, but let's say I didn't. I would probably, and Real Madrid had a good fixture, I would, that is probably my strongest lineup, I would say. The defender is up for debate for sure, but I think Fruk will be great. And then, obviously the Vinny and Rodrigo is the double forward. As far as the other forwards go, I mean, I really think Bello's going to be class. I think there's going to be lots of goals in that team for him. And then for the other forward option, obviously it's tough to really say. If Cherki was at Dortmund, I'd be shouting from the rooftops there big time. But yeah, it's probably Enciso, Brennan, Simsia if he's firing for Midtjylland. I mean, Brennan's probably the safest, I would say, if we're talking forwards. And then for the extra players, I think Clarkson is definitely within a shout for next season at Aberdeen. Should be a set piece taker, Should be heavily involved in anything good they do. And then maybe, Zaya Emery potentially if Pedri's fit and Barca are playing somebody not so great. I mean, that's basically how, my three teams are going to look most weeks, I would say, depending on fixtures, depending on home and aways. I think that is how I'm looking. And there's definitely improvements to be made again if I had the budget to do that. I'm not saying it's done. I'm not saying I couldn't improve these, because there's always improvements to make in under 23s in Sorare in general. That probably applies, but that's how I would probably look in Rare. So let's move on to Super Rare, where I'll only have two teams going out, and this is the current rig. So I only have two starting goalkeepers on paper, and that should be Tobelason and Joseph Bursic. So I do have a Bursic in Rare and Super Rare. I'll show you at the end, but I can actually make a Super Rare team of 5 cards of under 23s. Same at Rare, and I can sort of vertically stack them, have the same 5 players in both scarcities. I don't think it's optimal to do with the 5 I necessarily have, but it is an option. If those 5 cards have amazing matchups that week, I could double it up in Super Rare and Rare and hopefully sort of hit 2 birds with 1 stone type of thing and hit double the prizes, if that makes any sense. But anyway, additions in Super Rare. So I've made 2 additions in defense, and one of those being Foremost Mendy, who I'm really expecting to do great at Lorient in the 2nd division in France. I have bought a Danilo Vega. Obviously, I bought 2 rares as well, and he's going on loan. Sorry, he's not going on loan. He's been bought by Estrela, I believe, in the Portuguese league. He used to play for Porto under 19s and whatever, so he's quite familiar with the league. Played a couple of games for another team in the Portuguese league a few years ago before moving to Riker. So I'm hoping he can be a bit of an asset for us. But I think Foremost Mendy's the biggest addition, I would say. Maybe in general, regardless of position, I think he could be an absolute monster for me. My defenders are fine. I'm not in love with them by any means. Owen Beck, we still don't know what's going on with him. We have another Nico Williams, but at Super Rare level. Badiashile, who knows what happens at Chelsea. George Campbell is capable of a big score, but plays in the MLS and sometimes rotates. Paihush got relegated, as did Whittle. So those 2 are basically, you can kind of disregard them. They're not usable right now. Tanguy Nianzou, I really hope he has a good season at Sevilla. Sathoff, I don't think he's going to start for Go Ahead. He was somebody that I won a few months ago. But you're looking at, for starters, you're looking at Vega, El Karauni, Mendy, Ramos Mingo. Piton's been exceptional recently. I definitely have enough players to fill out two lineups at Super Rare. I have made a couple of additions in midfield, and that is Leighton Clarkson. So again, another player that I've doubled up on in Rare and Super Rare. I think he's going to have a great season at Aberdeen. I then bought a Niko Jankovic, another card that I've doubled up on. And then I won a Franco Ibarra, who's been absolutely on fire for Rosario in the Argentinian league on loan from Atlanta in the MLS. So I think in midfield, I am looking really strong. I'd argue I'm stronger in midfield at Super Rare than I am at Rare in a weird way. Timber's just had another injury announced for a few weeks, so that's a bit of a blow for me. But I still have enough to cover 2 teams. You've got to remember, I'm only playing out 2 teams at Super Rare level, whereas I am playing 3, obviously, at Rare. So I think I've got enough to get by, in midfield there. And don't forget, I am going to be playing Challenger Super Rare as well. So a lot of these cards, like your Timbers, Bass, Suzuki, Yari Vasharan, a lot of those who are obviously Challenger cards as well as being under 23, will double up for me a lot of the time, as will quite a lot of these forwards that we'll get into. So yeah, Hansen, Adson. I haven't actually made any additions since last week's, the video I made a few weeks ago. Balikwisha, though, is rumored to go to Celtic, which would be absolutely mental. Like, if he goes to Celtic, he could score out of this world. Like, he could be insane. He could be an elite under 23 forward option, which would bolster my chances of winning things, dramatically. But yeah, Delinga, if he stays at Toulouse, I expect him to score a good amount of goals. Same for Brennan Johnson, another one that I have obviously super rare in. Isaac Davis has gone back to Cardiff. Vitessen's hot and cold. Sam Greenwood has actually found a loan move to Preston, so I'm hoping things can look really good for him. Yunus Akun, he is hopefully going on loan from Galatasaray to somewhere else. Adson's been really decent in the Brazilian league. Avstan has been absolutely insane for Columbus Crew. He plays as like a left wing back, but the guy is on fire right now. I think he scored like a 93 last week. And then Sonjay Hansen, who on his day can score really well as well. So yeah, like, I'm only putting out 2 teams, like I said. I'm hoping to obviously, be in the mix between like a Division 2 and maybe a Division 1 if I'm lucky, because there is obviously division in under 23 next season, which I'm really excited about. There's going to be Essence to win, of course, cards as well. There is cash for Division 1. Cash isn't amazing for the top 3 places, but it's obviously better than nothing. But if we're talking, what are my best 2 lineups here? Condense that a little bit. So it'd probably be, the goalkeepers, you can't really split them, I would say. Like, then not much difference between like the level of team they play for in their respective league. But I would probably argue Bursic maybe plays for a better team in comparison to Leysen does in their own leagues. So let's just say Bursic, gets the nod as the best goalkeeper most weeks. I think foremost Mendy has to be my defender in Team 1 if we're talking most weeks in general. Lucas Piton has been absolutely ridiculous recently, so I've got to probably put him in Team 2. In midfield, most weeks I can't see me not playing the likes of, it's basically out of, I would say, Clarkson, Timber, Suzuki, Bass, Visharan, Ibarra, Jankovic. Like, this sort of bottom 6 or 7, I would say, is where I'll be putting a lot of my trust in. Let's just call it Suzuki, because he was insane last season, and I think he'll probably follow similarly this season. We'll put Jankovic in there as well. Up front, right now, he hasn't moved to Celtic, so I don't really want to get, my hopes up too much on Balikwisha. So if that's the case, I'd probably then go maybe Delinga in the best team, and then maybe Brennan in the second one for now. Obviously, if Balikwisha moves, then things can definitely move around there. Avstan's in with a shot. Adson is the same. I don't know how Sam Greenwood's going to do at Preston, so that's all unknowns. And then for the extra positions, I think more often than not, I will go double midfielder, just with how my gallery kind of falls here. So it's basically, I'd say Clarkson definitely within a shot, as long as he's not playing against Hibernian, because I don't want him scoring against my goalkeeper. If Timber's fit, Timber probably gets the nod. But if he's not fit, then Yari. But then if he's not fit, then it's probably Bass or Ibarra, who's been, I think he scored 88 last night again. Guys on fire. Bass has recently moved to Sparta Rotterdam, so hoping that move really does him wonders. But that, those are probably my best 2 teams most weeks, I would say. Things are obviously going to change depending on fixtures and whatever and availability, but I do think I have a good core group of under 23s now to attack both rare and super rare next season, and I'm just buzzing for it. I'm so happy that we're going to be able to put out multiple lineups. And on that note, obviously, if you do watch the content, you'll know that I haven't done the Road to Glory for a few weeks, because obviously the European season has concluded, but it is of course on its way back. So I will be starting back up the Road to Glory, for the new European season. I don't know whether I'm going to play 3 lineups. It's going to be under 23 for sure. I just haven't decided if we're going to play multiple lineups or not. It'll depend on like what budget we start with. But if there's any suggestions that you'd like to see maybe in that series, then please do leave them below if you've made it this far into the video. You're a real one, lads. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, if you are into under 23s this season and excited for it, like I am. Please do let me know in the comment section. Always here to chat under 23s. It's been a pleasure, lads, and I shall see you guys in the next video.